Mr. Speaker, it's good to have you on. I want to start with your reaction to the passage of the bill and the fact that you got a border state Democrat to vote with you, which I think that part of it is very interesting.
It is interesting. Thanks, Rob. Thanks for having me. And it does make it a bipartisan piece of legislation, and it's long overdue. And I want to thank you for putting so much attention on it over this long period of time. This is common sense legislation, as you and I have both said this evening and have been saying forever. The idea that you would have to have proof of citizenship and just simply show a photo ID to vote is something that almost every American agrees with. The polling says even 70% of Democrats agree with that as common sense. And yet, we were only able to attract one Democrat vote tonight in the House. Now, we got it through the House. We're sending it to the Senate. And we're very hopeful that a handful of Democrats over there will come to their senses and do the right thing, because I don't know how in the world they can explain to the people back home that they're opposing this.
They're not going to come to their senses and do the right thing. They're all going to vote against it, and they're going to pray that they don't change the rules and either do this, I guess, standing filibuster or just kill it entirely to get it through. I mean, they talk about this. They call it Jim Crow to ask for identification to vote. I mean, the rhetoric, I think, indicates just how terrified they are of the passage of this. My question to you is, why are they so scared?
Well, look, I think the conclusion is obvious. Anybody who opposes this clearly wants an opportunity to cheat the system. They want non-Americans to vote in our elections. And you and I and others have opined on this for quite some time. Why in the world would the Biden-Harris administration open the border wide for 4 years and allow all these illegals, as many as 20 million illegals, to come into the country? It was a means to an end. The end is their own power. They wanted to have illegals vote in the elections to throw them in the places that they could. I mean, I don't know how we can draw any other conclusion, and the votes are proving that. So we are very hopeful that we can get this to the president's desk. I can tell you, I was with him 90 minutes ago in the Oval Office, and he is very anxious to sign this into law, because the president knows that we have to maintain the integrity of American elections, and it's an essential component of maintaining a constitutional republic.
Is the president putting enough pressure on Leader Thune to actually get this through? It's not going to be voted. It's not going to get 60. We know that. So is there enough pressure to actually get it done? Is Thune willing to change this rule in a way that will allow for a simple majority to pass something that I think is so critically important if you want people to believe in our elections, if you want to be like the rest of the modern first world and have a secure election, this is needed.
You're right. About 70 countries require photo ID to vote. Why would the greatest country in the history of the world not do this? It makes no sense. Look, I think Leader John Thune is as committed to this as I am and you are, and he's trying to figure out the combination of votes and procedures to get it through and get it to the president's desk. And he's committed. He's going to bring it to the floor. They're talking about different versions of the filibuster that might accomplish that mission, and we believe that desperate times call for desperate measures. So we have a custom. I don't tell him how to run the Senate. He doesn't tell me how to run the House, but I think he is doing the work and trying to get this done.
Do you think he's worried about some kind of a backlash? When he talks about it, he seems worried that this will, that it'll waste a tremendous amount of time, or that something negative will come from it. You can hear it in his voice. What do you think that concern is?
Well, yeah. Well, he's a student of the institution. He knows the rules well and how they can be abused by the other side. Yeah. And there is a concern that if you open that up, it could go for weeks and weeks on end, and that it would have an unendable amendment process with no germaneness hurdles to it. And that just means basically that Democrats could potentially throw anything they want on it. But look, we have to see how that plays out. He's got to strategize that with the Senate Republicans. And I can tell you, I mean, our Senate Republican colleagues believe as firmly in this principle as we do. And we're hopeful, we're confident they can get something done over there.
I want to ask you about the Seditious Six, as they have been labeled. A failure today to get an indictment for these Democrats who put out the video telling our troops essentially that they should not act on orders that they don't believe to be legal. And I think that really meant that, like, orders that Mark Kelly doesn't believe to be legal. Dancing a very fine line on sedition in this country, but a D.C. jury pool, not too surprising, I guess, could not indict for this. How big of a mistake was that to try it in Washington, D.C. in that jury pool?
Well, it's a very important question that we all should be asking ourselves. And I don't think they've released publicly the indictment and the materials and the documents yet. And I'm a lawyer. I used to litigate. Ironically, I used to litigate constitutional law cases to protect free speech, and we do believe in that as a core principle. But this to me, cross the line. You have high-ranking officials in the federal government, many of whom, all the ones, the Seditious Six, as they're called, were former military officers and commanders, and they are effectively telling young soldiers, young troops, young people in the military not to obey orders. It's a dangerous and serious situation, and I think they need to hold themselves to a higher standard. Was it criminal? I don't know. You know, that's what our system is for to determine, but I can tell you that it crossed the line, and they should be called out for it.
Yeah. Netanyahu at the White House earlier, Iran clearly in focus again. There was reporting from Zero Hedge that actually gets a lot of good inside stuff, saying that at least 112 C-17s have now headed to the Middle East to go on, you know, in addition to the armada that is in the region as well. They called it Desert Storm levels of military might in the Middle East. Is there any indication we're about to do something in Iran?
Well, I don't know that that's a direct indication of that, and I frankly have not been to the SCIF to get the inside info, and so I don't want to opine on it too much, but I will tell you this. What it is a strong show of force by a strong commander-in-chief who believes in the principle of peace through strength, and he has demonstrated that over and over, and the demonstration of that is what has led to the resolution of 8 wars around the globe so far, 8 and counting. And Iran is playing with fire. If they have any nuclear aspiration, it must be stopped, and I think everybody in the free world understands the necessity of that, and showing a strong hand there hopefully has the desired effect.
Final question. Are you satisfied with the level of transparency from the DOJ regarding the Epstein files, which your House passed that bill back in November for transparency? Are you satisfied?
Well, I haven't seen all the testimony today. I've been busy trying to manage the House here, but in general, I would say the DOJ is releasing the information. It's over 3.5 pages. There's videos, there's photographs, all of that. They're getting it out. Yeah, and they're allowing the members of Congress to come in and see the unredacted versions. I mean, that, to me, looks like full transparency. I think they're trying their best to comply with those subpoenas while also protecting as best they can these innocent victims. We don't want them to be victimized a second time, and that is an important concern. Now, there may be some errors in 3.5 million pages, but that's why they're allowing members to go in and check it out. And I trust my colleagues all here to go in and do that, do the reading, do the homework, and make sure that we expose anyone who is in any way involved in these crimes, but we protect the innocent women that were victimized in the whole process.
Okay. All right. The House Speaker, Mike Johnson, we appreciate you, sir, coming on. Good to see you. You know, everybody's reporting the same stories, the same spin. You turn the channel, it's always the same. But not us. We're different. We report the real news. No spin, just the facts. Turn to us, and you won't turn back.
Tune in to Rob Schmitt Tonight on Newsmax.